Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. Germany is preparing for a significant political shift as the Christian Democrats under Friedrich Merz return to power, forming a grand coalition with the Social Democrats. Now, with key ministers divided between the two, major changes are expected in foreign and defense policy, including expanded military spending and closer transatlantic ties. Joining us today on TVP World to break it all down is Maria Skóra, associate researcher at the Institut for Europäische Politik in Berlin. As a seasoned analyst of European governance and democratic transitions, she offers us critical perspective on what this new government could mean for Germany's global role and the future of EU cohesion. Hello, ma'am, and welcome to TVP World.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
So now we're starting to see the coalition lineup. We might be able to read a little bit into the tea leaves. Can you help us understand who are some of the more important names and what that might mean for Germany's future politics direction?
Yeah, sure. So the coalition agreement is now materializing and actually still has to get through the last phase, namely what we are expecting now is after working groups, addition and clearing, it's also inner party voting. So also party base has to approve of the coalition agreement. But yes, in fact, it's a red-black coalition and of the SPD and two union parties. And, the coalition agreement is not a legally binding document. It's a traditional way of German incumbent governments to communicate their plans and policies to the society and to lay out the plan, what they want to do. But nevertheless, coalition agreements are usually applied through the whole legislative period and are delivered through the process to 90% according to Bertelsmann Foundation. So I think we can rely on what we can find in this coalition agreement. It is a marriage of convenience. It is a situation of this coalition that came to being after the elections in which the CDU won, and the only feasible coalition was with the SPD, so Christian Democrats, Social Democrats. So you can feel that there must have been a lot of traction, and there actually is that the domestic issues were most generating most frictions, and there was the biggest space for compromise there. Actually, the foreign policy and defense policy that we were talking about, there were not as big an issue. There were actually very overlapping attitudes towards the main policies and also the relationships with the key partners in those fields.
Right, but when it comes to foreign policy, there's still a little bit of difference between the CDU and SPD, right? How are they going to be able to balance their priorities going forward with this coalition?
Well, I think when we look actually at the Chapter 5, which is called the Responsible Foreign Policy, United Europe and Secure Germany, it is pretty coherent. Well, it opens with an overall conclusion that was stating the fact that the challenges seen today in defense are unprecedented since the end of the Cold War. And there is a need to build up the defense potential of Germany and Bundeswehr to lead by example. And it actually lays out that the greatest threat comes from Russia, and that long-term investments beyond one term in office are necessary. And the major policies here, I would say, is reaffirming the NATO commitment, and announcing more spending, but no numbers. The coalition wants the Bundeswehr to become a model among other allies. And here the cornerstone, NATO is also the cornerstone of a transatlantic partnership. So this also determines actually the attitude of this coalition towards the United States. As we all know, the policies of Donald Trump has put the transatlantic partnership in question recently with this erratic decisions on tariffs and not supporting Ukraine. However, this coalition agreement stresses the pivotal role of the transatlantic relationship, not only US-German, but also US-EU. And here I should also probably mention that this coalition agreement also wants more coordination between building up the defense potential of the European Union with the goals and capacities agreed in NATO. So more cooperation and more coordination. Ukraine is also, of course, an important topic in this coalition agreement. There is unchanged commitment, however, with no details regarding what this commitment could look like. Definitely, there is there is commitment promise on military and also humanitarian aid to Ukraine. However, what I find also interesting and important is this is the engagement in looking for a sustainable and fair peace for Ukraine, which would also guarantee peace in Europe. For Germany, Ukraine, as a strong democratic and sovereign state, is of central importance for its own security. So that's more or less what this coalition agreement offers regarding defense and foreign policy. These are issues that are overlapping, obviously, in today's times. There will be a change in the Foreign Office, and the Foreign Office, for the first time in 60 years, will be led by the CDU, by the Union Party. And then Johann Wadephul is the candidate to be foreign minister. He's been long in the Bundestag, and he's a member of different committees on foreign affairs, EU policy, and defense. And so he has this portfolio and expertise, and there won't be any changes in the defense. This ministry will remain with the CDU-SPD, with Boris Pistorius as a defense minister. He's the most popular politician in Germany. So next to his expertise, there are also reasons to continue his mission. Going back to your initial question, what the new government will look like, the ministries are divided more or less equally. CDU 7, SPD 7, and CSU, the junior, the small Bavarian Christian Democrat Party, will take 2 of them. So let's see how this new government will start its mission, probably after Easter's.
All right. And we have very little time left, but I would like to pick your brains on how the voters are responding to the idea of a grand coalition again.
Well, it's actually not a grand coalition because these are not 2 parties holding the most mandates. The second biggest party in the Bundestag is the AfD, so it's actually a direct black coalition. But you're right, the previous combination of SPD and CDU was called a grand coalition. But the voters, the CDU lost a few votes in the polls, and the SPD, I think there's only a difference of more or less 1 percentage point. I think many Germans understand that this is a coalition which came to being because of accommodating the election result to political reality. And the coalition agreement is actually called Responsibility for Germany. And this is how this marrying fire and water, if you want, the center-left and center-right, was being sold and justified to the voters, that there is no other possibility to create a lasting, sustainable government because of the big win of the far right, for example, the AfD. So in a way, these 2 parties were pushed in each other's arms, and they decided to take this mission, take this challenge, and fulfill it to best to their capacity. So let's see how this will play out.
Exactly. We'll see how that plays out. But in the meantime, thank you so much for your input and insight, and really appreciate it for being with us on TVP World.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.